This is episode 3 of What's Been Better. This week, we're talking about reading the room and how your perspective isn't the only perspective of a situation. A heads up to the moms and the mother-in-laws, we curse a little. All right, here we go. Okay, so welcome back. This is episode 3. I had no idea that we'd be on episode 3 so quickly. If you don't know already, I'm Sylvia, and
I'm Lori.
If you have not already, definitely go back and listen to episode 1 and 2. They are quite interesting, quite hilarious. But let's get started with what's been better.
So, what has been better, Miss Sylvia?
I'm still recovering. I think I'm still recovering. I'm still, little things keep popping up and I keep swiping them away and unsubscribing and trying not to tap back into all the things that have been happening in the last, couple weeks, which has been good. I think that as the weather is trying to warm up, not today, don't count today. I've been out in the garden more, prepping more, and it's giving me a sense of like, all right, let's have real change. So that's been making me feel a lot better. So yeah, it's been better this week. What about you?
The weather really was nice for a second, and that was really better. Like I was happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rain. I love the rain, except when the rain brings the cold, right? And so it just was a shock. But yeah, I'm just gonna roll with it. I'm just gonna take it as it comes. I've been able to play with my grandbaby, so
that is awesome.
That is a highlight because I haven't really seen him in a while. I saw him maybe about a month ago, but he's just so cute and fat and bubbly. So that's just bringing my life to a whole nother level. Okay. So this is a whole nother transition. And
I have to ask, how are the plants?
What plants?
You had a whole bunch of plants that you were gonna try to water and get together.
Well, yes, you said plant. I thought you said plans. But my plants, one of them, it's iffy, and I'm just gonna say after today, because you mentioned they're finicky, and to wash them, put water on them once a week. So today was the day.
Okay.
So if by a couple of days they don't start to perk up, I'm gonna throw them away.
Well, sometimes they gotta make it and sometimes they don't. There's nothing you could do about it.
Yeah, I'm doing the best I can, dang on it.
That's all you can do with houseplants. Houseplants are, they will test all of your patience. They will test all of your strength. They will test your brain to make sure, like, wait a minute, I know that I for sure did what I was supposed to do for you. Why are you still acting like this?
I didn't know it was going to be like that. I thought it would be.
No one tells you this part when everybody's like, oh, get a houseplant, get houseplants. I love my houseplants. And then you're like, wait a minute, trying to track the sun, trying to have a watering schedule, trying to make sure that you don't put it too much, but just enough fertilizer. It's too much. I will stick to being out in the garden where I kind of just let the sun do its job.
Yeah.
Water how I can. Yeah. Feed where I can, do what I can, but
these plants trying to be like children.
Yes, and you know me, I don't have any kids. Yeah, I don't have any kids. Not doing that. That's not going to work.
Exactly. So thank you for asking. I'm doing the best I can. That's all I can say.
That's all we all can do at this point. That's all we all can do. So last week when we ended, I was telling the story about me not being able to read the room. And I figured we would continue this conversation. So I did ask my friend, I said I was going to ask her, was it okay to talk about this? And let me tell you, I have to put out a disclaimer. She does not agree with my example of me not being able to read the room. Mm-hmm. So long story short, a very dear friend of mine. I've known her since we were freshmen. We go back a very long time. She is a very dear friend to me. She called me one day, I guess to vent, but also jokingly to say that her daughter wanted a birthday party And she wanted the birthday party to be, I think, something that had to do with space, because her daughter really likes science and really, was
Oh,
just into
wow.
all these things. And I thought, oh, that's so neat.
Mm-hmm.
But, COVID and just all the craziness, she was like, I'm absolutely not doing this. I'm not having his birthday party. And I was,
And how was your little girl?
um, I think she's going from either 7 to 8 or 8 to 9.
Okay.
Don't quote me, but yes. So in the jokes, though, I was like, it's fine. I'll give the party. I will make the entire party. And not only will it have to do with space, but it'll also be glow in the dark. And it'll
Oh,
also be a paint party. I mean, I just like went and went and went. And so she was looking at me like, you have to be joking, right? And I was dead serious, totally serious. Did not even, it was like I closed my eyes and closed my ears. I never heard her say, no, don't do that, or I was joking, or we
did she
don't
say
have to.
did she say any of those things?
I'm sure that she did
Oh,
at some point.
okay.
Uh, but I did not care apparently, and I was not listening. Wound up doing a full glow in the dark pour paint party, made like backdrops that had little astronauts floating, little black girl astronauts floating, and
Oh, that's
spaceships taking off, and all these things, all of these things, just for her and her god sister, her mom and her godmother.
okay.
Um, and it was cute. It was awesome. But in the midst of it, I had like this moment where I woke up and I was like, oh, she didn't say that she wanted to do any of this. Like I
Okay.
totally missed it. Totally
Hmm.
missed it. And it was just an example to me of like, I never read the room. I never do. I had the same four friends in high school forever. I mean, rode to school with one of them every day, was at other people's houses every day. We did everything together every day. But when it was time for us to go to college, I thought we were all going to go to college together. We had all gone on a college tour together. I thought it was going to be this big thing and it was going to be just, really fun. Well, they all went to college together. And some of them wound up being gay. And I
Oh,
was like, did I not get the memo? Like, how did I not notice? I swear to you, I was blind, deaf, dumb, mute, everything. I was very defensive of people being like, oh, your friends are weird, or oh, your friends are different, to the point where my best friend, I mean, like, she and I might as well be sisters, had never really set foot inside of my house and did not know that I had actual siblings, because
wow.
I just like insulated her away from everyone.
Hmm.
Because not only can I not read the room, but I also don't like to be questioned, especially back then, because I'm just very defensive and like hypersensitive.
Right.
So if anybody would say anything, especially my siblings would say anything about my friends, and my friends were very like, they were just themselves. They were so free and they
Mm,
loved life.
right.
And it was just like a magnet. Like I was like a moth to a light with all of them,
Hmm.
that I was just like, whatever they're doing is great. And
Hmm.
anybody questioning that is wrong.
Right.
And I always felt like I had to protect everything about them, and never, I guess I just didn't want to see it. It was so strange. And they laugh at me till this day that I just had no clue. I was
So
clueless.
it was three of them, right?
It was
And
four friends.
okay,
Two when we were in college came out to me, and I was like, huh?
that's wild.
It is. The whole thing was so wild, but I just never saw any of it. It's like a true testament to like I never see anything when I'm in the situation. I can't. I don't know what it is.
Well, I want to dissect the event, the birthday party, real quick. I
Okay.
want to find out. You said that you never for a second questioned what the mom wanted as far as her.
No,
Okay, so you didn't. Okay. And then what about the daughter? Did you
it
ask?
was a surprise. The whole thing was a surprise.
Oh,
She had no clue. Even when I showed up to take measurements and things. Because at a point, her mom just was like, I'm just going to let you do this.
Okay.
Like she didn't fight it.
Mm-hmm.
My friend is very lighthearted. And I think I would venture to guess to say she's probably the only person that can like crack a joke on me. I take it a little bit hard at first, and then I'm like, oh, it's her. And I just let it go.
That,
Everyone else, I can't really take jokes from. I don't know why,
I
but
got questions.
okay, okay.
This so wow. I mean, I'm just, but what was your overall takeaway from that particular situation though? Did you, when you said I didn't read the room, was there any disappointment? Like what was there? Or did everybody like the party? What happened?
Everybody loved it. Everybody was like in shock. Um, and everybody was kind of like, whoa, how did you do this?
Mm-hmm.
To me, it was just easy. It was something that like, if if you allow me to do it, like I said before, like I'm gonna do the most.
Mm-hmm.
And I just adore her daughter. I mean, like, I just do. Like, she's just the sweetest child. She's so smart. She's so like interested in so many things that I'm interested in.
Right.
And as a child, I see myself in her. It's like, oh, okay, when I was this age, like this is all the things that I would have liked someone to be like, yeah,
Right.
here.
Right. Sounds
So
like the reason why you went full steam ahead.
I mean, yes. I yeah. I think not only was it something that like if I was her, I would want, but it was also like living vicariously through her.
Absolutely.
So
And what
and
was, oh, go ahead.
could it have been simplified? Probably. Like could it just been like a paint party? Yeah, it could have been. Did it have to be glow in the dark? No. Did I have to make lava lamps? No.
Did you make lava lamps?
Yes, of
Oh my
course.
God. What does that look like?
Look, I have like so many pictures and so many videos. I'll have to show you.
Oh, that's
But
so cool.
because I have a background in chemistry, it was easy to just like snap together whatever chemicals go together to make a lava lamp. And because I'm so crafty, it was easy to figure out like, oh, this is how you do this on the cheap. So
But that in itself took one creativity, your time, that love that you have sounds like for your girlfriend and for the little girl. So
mhm.
when the little girl saw this, was she surprised, or what was her response to what you did?
Oh, she was shocked. She
Mm-hmm.
was like genuinely shocked. Like I think she knew, okay, we're gonna do something for your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she so what I was trying to say before is like when I even came over to take measurements, that's when my friend was just kind of like, I'm just gonna let you do this. What do you need me to help you do?
Right.
And I was like, okay, we just need this, this, and this. Like these are the basics.
Mm-hmm.
And move this piece of furniture, whatever, like that. Um, but her little girl was just so unsuspecting. Like she had no clue. She sat in the living room away from where we were the whole time while we were setting it up and was just kind of like, all right. So when they brought her into the room, I didn't see her face, but I could hear her being like, oh my God, like this is
Right.
happening.
Right.
And then it was like another thing and another thing and another thing because it wasn't just, oh, it's glowing in the dark. It was, oh, it's astronauts. Oh, it's space.
Right.
Oh, there's a lava lamp. Oh, there's two lava lamps. Oh,
Wow.
all my clothes, everybody has on matching shirts that all have like astronauts on them, a little black
So
girl
you did
astronaut on
that?
them.
You got the shirts too?
I told her mom where to get them because I already had the shirt.
Okay.
So, and so it was just like one thing after another. And then it was like bringing out the paint and then it glowed in the dark. And it was just like, she doesn't have to fight anyone over this stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
just for her. Her mom told me that that part of it was so much that that was like what she appreciated the most. It was like, I gave her child this thing that was just for her.
Mm-hmm.
So it made me feel better. But at the time, I was like, she totally didn't ask for this.
So was that the thing, or Like, was that an issue that's not what she asked for, or did it make a difference, the response that you received from the daughter?
See, I don't, for me, it was a thing. Yes. For me, it was a thing that she didn't ask for it because I never want to be a pushy person, even
Okay.
though I know good and damn well that I am. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very pushy and I don't like that about myself. But the things that I'm pushy about are helpful or fun, or, I'm not pushy about like having my way. I'm pushy about like every Black girl deserves a birthday party.
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And
Exactly.
those are the kinds of things that I'm pushy about. Now, I'm sure, if I turn the mic over to somebody else, they might be like, no, you're pushy about everything, which would be a little bit like daunting to me because I
Right.
really genuinely don't feel like I'm hyper pushy about everything.
Right. Okay. So
So, yeah,
did she have other little girls at the party too?
she only had like her god sister at the party. It was her
Okay.
godparents were there. It was
Mm-hmm.
me, my husband, because we are the people that know how to paint this particular method of painting. Um, my friend, her husband, her child, her godparents, and their child. That was
Mm-hmm.
it.
Okay. And so what response did you get from the two younger people? The
The
little
two
girl?
kids were like, oh my God, they were in heaven
Mm-hmm.
because there was also decorations, there were balloons that glowed in the dark, it was just so many other things. I had like the glow in the dark necklaces and glow in the dark coloring book pages, just any and everything. Because I was like, once you paint, you kind of got to let it sit there. So I was like, there's other games. There was like glow in the dark ring toss. There was just all these other things. So they were like looking around, kind of sensory overload.
So they were sensory overload, mesmerized, the whole gamut.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me what difference that made to you, because it seemed like that made a difference.
I was I was happy that I could do it, but I felt bad for doing it at the same time.
Okay. And when did it dawn on you that I went too far or I didn't read the room?
Just before we started shopping for all of the items, just before then, like when I started making a list of things I needed from the store, that's when I was like, oh snap. Like, first of
Okay.
all, she don't have time to go to the store. She has to like homeschool her child and still work and still do all these things. Like, she doesn't have time for this. It was that moment of like, this is why she didn't want to have the party because she doesn't have time to have the party.
I see. And
Like,
that's
she would like to have the party,
right.
but
Right.
so yeah.
So did you all talk about it at any time afterwards to actually hear her when you didn't hear her at the beginning?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yes, because we talked about it before the party. Like
Okay.
it wasn't a knockdown drag out like fight or anything like that, but I was crying, of course, cuz if we haven't discovered by now, I'm a crier.
Right.
Um I was just really apologetic and feeling like I had done something wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
then also a moment of like well, you can't turn back now. But yeah.
And it's interesting as I listen to you, but then I'm also thinking about our audience in this thought process of reading a room, right? And that actually, I guess, being part of this theme for our conversation today, and thinking about when there are times when we don't read the room, and when does it dawn on us that, wow, that happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess when it dawned on you is right before the party, right? And so what was said though? Was it something that you thought about, or was it something that was said from her that then you got it?
I guess I was already subconsciously thinking, oh, snap, I've gone too far. But again, she's very jokey. So she
Mhm.
made a joke about like something along the lines of me doing the most, whatever it
Okay.
was. And that this was just this is a me production, a me show, a me something. And I was
Really?
like,
So that was a joke too.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I think I might have messed up.
Hmm.
And she was like, no, 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 no. Like, this is gonna be great. I already know it. I'm like, well, you haven't seen it. We don't have to do it. I was kind of trying to like backpedal out of it. And she was like, no, like, no, 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 no. You know who I am. I'm joking, whatever, whatever. Please don't take this wrong, all these things. But in that moment, I think also because it was initiated over text message, you don't have any context when you're just reading the words. So I was hysterical, like hysterically crying. This is also because I am performative. I seek all the love, all the whatever off of performing. And so if my performance isn't going well or isn't enough, I'm not enough.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, oh, I have totally destroyed our friendship over a birthday party.
Which, interestingly enough, is never really what it seems, right?
No,
And so,
never.
right. So you're thinking our friendship is over a birthday party, but it's really not the birthday party itself. It is something else. And
No.
as you think about it now, what was that something else?
Um, I think of like stepping on toes or, inserting myself or
And so on that thought process, what is that about? Right? And we break it all the way down. So how do we insert ourselves without judging ourselves, right? What would that be?
there's the key of like, how do you do it without judging yourself? There's the struggle for me is because that was the initial like either she's judging me or I'm judging me or I haven't judged this correctly or just all this judgment all the way around.
Right. Right.
So,
Because I think when you look at the intent, and it goes all the way back to that, your intent was love.
mhm.
I'm saying it was love.
Yeah,
I can imagine that it was love, but what would you say your intent was?
I would absolutely say it was love. Absolutely. Because, like I said, I just adore her child.
Right.
So, and I value our friendship so much that I'm like, I'll do whatever, anything
Right.
to help, anything to be a part of, whatever I can.
Right.
So,
Right. Because
yeah.
as you think about the initial conversation, it was about her not having time to do it.
Hmm.
And then your mind was like, I'll do it.
Right. I
And
was like, here, I'll just lighten the load.
right. And so for her to give that to you, because at any point she could have said, no, don't do it loud enough for you to hear it.
That's what I was gonna say. It was probably said, but was it loud enough? Was it explicit enough? Was it direct enough? We won't know because
Right.
it's too
And
late.
that's that. Well, you know what? That's why I'm glad we're having this conversation. So you can get a different perspective.
Hmm.
You don't have to put all this on you because she did have a responsibility too. As soon as you brought it to her, she allowed it,
Yeah.
because if she didn't allow it, you know her as a friend.
Yeah.
Has she ever put her foot down?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
She
So
20, what are we at now? 22 years. Yeah. She would know
okay.
enough to be like, no. And
Right.
I think a lot of it too started out as so much of a joke.
Right.
We are so lighthearted. We try to be as lighthearted as we can in this crazy world that we are all dealing in. So I think because it was all just kind of like, yeah, right, whatever. Like I don't think anybody would have seen like me moving the furniture in my living room to try to spread out these tarps to try to make these banners to no one was going to see that.
Right.
Like
And
no one was going to call it.
right. And I think what you did is going to go down in the history books of one of the greatest parties. And so while you think you did the most, it was still the best because it came from your heart. And that young lady will never forget that all of her years.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't even need it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need it to be for her.
Mm-hmm.
I needed that creativity. I needed that outlet. It was the first thing that I did on my Cricut. And it was another one of those moments of like, you've created a monster. You've created a monster.
What's a cricket?
It's like a thing that you use to make like t-shirts or like where it cuts out things, it die cuts things. So
Oh,
it cuts
okay.
paper, it cuts fabric, it cuts vinyl, it cuts all these different things.
Oh, that's neat.
So yeah, that was, I will say I did the like test run when you take it out of the box. And then those are the first things that I created was like a banner with her name on it to say happy birthday. And like another banner with rockets and planets that all glowed in the dark. And just, it was way too much.
Well, again, see, and I am the author of reframe. Like I will reframe a thing, right?
Yes.
And so for me, I'm looking at the bright side of this. While you think you did too much, I think you did an enormous job. Like that was awesome. And your creativity came and it just showed up like in
Yeah.
such a major way, right? Um, you came out, you're excitement, you being a child at heart, that
Mm-hmm.
came out. And
Yeah.
you were able to do it in your own development of a grown woman and a little girl in your body is like, hey, let's play kind of thing. And you
Yes.
did. You got your
Yes.
cricket out and you went to town.
Yeah. I mean, and it's another thing of like being able to share. I'm an overshare. I love to share whatever gift, whatever talent, whatever product, whatever thing if it's something that I love, I will tell everybody.
Yeah.
I will tell everybody. So pour painting for us is just like it's art therapy.
Mhm.
It's therapy that before I started seeing you, I think is something that I started doing with my husband. Um, our dog had died and he loves to watch YouTube. I mean, like loves it. And he saw it and he was like, we should try this.
Oh,
And I
wow.
was like, okay, I will follow you into whatever. I had no idea that it would become all these things, but we love to share those kinds of things with people. So
Right.
to be able to share that and then like take it to a whole nother level, like we're going to do it in the dark now, it was just,
How was that?
it was great.
Okay.
It was great.
So, and tell me what difference that made.
Um, it makes a huge difference when it's something that you think is just this thing that you do and other people are interested in it.
Exactly.
Like to the point where they are actually my friend, her husband, and her daughter now, they have a giant, I mean, like I couldn't tell you how big this painting is. They're going to paint over that painting in this method because they enjoyed it so much because at the party so the moms painted with the daughters and then the dads came in and they were like, oh, I got to try this, like they were interested in it, so it became a thing for them. And I wish that COVID wasn't so terrible, but I'm sure that it would be a thing that we would share with more of our friends and family because we love it that much.
Well, I think it's awesome because and so again, I don't know this thought process that you have would have really come to surface had we not talked it through. And while you're thinking that you did the most, you really opened up some new way of thinking, some new activity that people never even imagined. And you got
Yeah.
to share it.
Yeah.
So what is this pour painting?
So again, more things that I have to show you. So you, instead of getting a paintbrush to paint a canvas, you would fill a cup with paint and then you pour the paint on the canvas in different methods.
Okay.
And it's just abstract painting just in a different way.
Okay.
So yeah, you have to be very technical a lot of times when you have a paintbrush. You've got to stay in the lines, you got to do, certain
Mhm.
ways, certain methods.
Right.
This is flat on the table, dump the cup, whatever happens, happens. And you have no control over it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I had such a love hate relationship with it at the beginning, but I have such an appreciation for it now because I
Mhm.
have no control over what happens with the paint. The
You
paint
know,
will do whatever.
and that's therapy,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because you're letting go.
Yeah.
That's huge. And you
Yeah.
just taught other people to do the same thing.
I mean, I would hope so. I would hope that people find something where they have to put down all the things that they're trying to control just for a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like we picked up painting again this week, and it has been great to get back to it. It's been
Okay.
horrible that we let our paint sit for so long, but it's been great to get back into it because it's another like release.
Right.
But it's something that I just want to share with so many people, but COVID, long distance. That's another thing I wanted to ask you about is like long distance friendships. So
Mm-hmm.
those same friends, like I said, I've had forever.
Mm-hmm.
That friend lives in town. The people that I went to high school with I had no idea how to read that room. None of
Mm-hmm.
them live here,
Okay.
but I hold them so close in my heart, and I speak to some of them. I don't speak to one of them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to unpack that one day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just been difficult to like keep that friendship up in the air because we're so far apart. COVID is COVID. Like you can't just pop into somebody's town anymore. You have to like prepare and all these things. And I'm just trying to figure out new ways to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm also trying to figure out like you've changed, maybe they haven't changed, maybe
Mm-hmm.
you didn't change, maybe they changed.
Mm-hmm.
How how do you do all this? Like I don't know.
I think a lot of it is as it comes to your mind, it could be some writing you do about it.
Mm,
As you write about how do you even feel about this, right?
mhm.
And then what is it that you want? Because we get what we want,
Right.
whether we think about, well, I don't want this. And remember, we talked about that, right?
Mhm.
And so when you think about your friends and it is long distance and you're dealing with COVID and all these other obstacles, what is it that you want? Because it doesn't matter what's going on, what you desire desires you back and you can have it. And so when you think about your friendships and their long distance, what is it that you want out of it when you think about them?
I think, the biggest thing for me, and I said this in the very first episode, is like the communication piece. But I
Mm-hmm.
can't make people have time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a housewife, you have a lot of time and you don't have a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that piece of like, I wish there were more texts. I wish there were more calls. I wish there was more FaceTime. I wish there were just that communication piece for me.
Okay. On their end, meaning
Mm,
that you would like to reach out to them more and them reciprocate.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
But
so
it's like you don't want to be the one that always calls. You don't want to seem naggy. You also don't want to seem desperate. You also don't want to seem like, all these things. So
mm-hmm.
I guess that's the struggle is like, where's the line?
I get it. And so how often do you reach out?
I don't know. Like, there's so many different ways that I interact with them.
Mm-hmm.
So not just text, not just like Facebook Messenger. There's also Instagram and DMs and stuff like that. So it's like those things, but it's like it would be nice if there was just like, I don't care if there was like a schedule. Every Thursday we're gonna call.
Mm-hmm.
That would be great.
So are you saying that you do all of those things as a mode to communicate with them?
Mhm.
And are you saying that there's no response back or do
No,
they?
there's response, but I think like for me, it's not filling my cup enough. Like I literally FaceTime with my mom every day
Mm-hmm.
out of a lot of different reasons. But it
Right.
does something for me in terms of like communicating.
I
My
get.
friend with the birthday party, we text every morning.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody texts either good morning, something funny, a crazy article, something in the news, something happens every morning. And if it doesn't, we're either way too busy and it comes at like 11 o'clock, 11 a.m. It's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that with everyone else that I really would like that with, but I
Mm-hmm.
also realize and understand that they have a whole entire life of their own.
Okay. And so, with that being said, and I love that you say, I understand that they have a life of their own. And I can imagine you understand that you do too. So, so then it could be practicing reading the room in this particular situation,
Mhm.
right? Because there is something that is being spoken and something that's not being spoken.
Mhm.
And so the thing that you desire, right, they might not desire the same things.
Right.
And so then the allowing comes. I'm going to allow them to be themselves and I'm going to be myself without desiring something from them that they're not giving me.
Am I am I asking for too much to want that for myself though?
I don't know. You got to, and
Mm.
so you answer that question for yourself. Do you feel like you want too much?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay.
All the
So
time.
then it's about you. The question is, what do you do about it? Right. Because you're getting something back from this friend who you reach out with in the morning. You all touch base with each other. At some point, there is a give and a take,
Mhm.
a take and a give, or however that goes, but you're receiving something. The relationship you have with your mother, you're receiving something. There's some
Mhm.
kind of benefit that you're getting. If you're not benefiting from something you're doing somewhere else, it's asking the question, what do I do about that?
Yeah. It's
What would you
a hard thing though, because like you've known these people 25, 25 years, 26 years. It it's one thing when you've grown apart, but it's another thing when it's like okay. I never liked being in friendships with people, and I have these friendships with people that I don't know if I really value them, where it's like they haven't called you in 6 months, but they're like, we haven't talked in so long and we could just pick up like it was yesterday. But I can't,
mm-hmm,
which is different from these relationships.
mm-hmm,
But those, it's like I don't necessarily want to be that friend to someone else who is
mm-hmm,
like, I don't need to talk to you unless I need something, or I don't need to talk to you unless oops, I forgot I haven't talked to them in like 6 months.
mm-hmm.
That's a little bit different than like this situation, whereas you're not talking every day. Really, you're not hearing the other person's voice every day. It's very sporadic, and it
Mm-hmm.
just something about it drives me crazy. And I don't know why.
What is that?
Something about like not being in like frequent contact with these friends that I used to be in frequent contact with.
Okay.
It's I don't know. I can't put my finger on it or how to explain it, but it bothers me that we are not in close contact.
Well, were you in, or when was the time when you were?
When we were younger and we weren't adults.
Ah, so
When we were
now,
college or just getting out of college or like that.
okay. And so when did you first recognize that there was something that was in the way and that you all were having less and less contact?
Oh, it was COVID. 100% it was COVID.
Oh, so COVID did this.
I feel like I would have never noticed this had it not been for like we're at home. It's only the two of us. You're seeing people on the internet having like scheduled Zoom parties with each other, or people are um texting, they have like text banks with each other where they're like checking in on each other and stuff. And it's like, I don't have that with anybody.
Okay. And you wanted that.
Yeah.
Okay. Before COVID, was there a gap in time and talking and it wasn't a big deal?
If there was a gap in time, it made sense for there to be a gap in time. Somebody was always traveling, somebody's always doing something for work, somebody's always doing something. But when COVID happened and we were all trapped in the house, I didn't see an excuse for us to not communicate. It didn't make sense to me. It still kind of doesn't make sense to me. But I guess I'm just now coming to the realization of this. And I think I've realized this before, but I kind of realized it jokingly. I am an extrovert surrounded by all introverts who don't want to be bothered. so,
Look at that.
so maybe that's what it is.
That's interesting. When did you come up with that?
Just now. But
Look at that.
I think I've said it before, but kind of jokingly or passively, not to this extent that I'm like, oh, no, all of them are introverts.
Right. So as you think about that now, what shifts for you?
Figuring out how to be okay with being by myself.
Yes.
Because the other thing, okay, so I finally have finished Will Smith's book, and he said something in the book, and I was like hysterical behind it. He says he had to figure out how to like himself, because why would anybody else want to be with him if he didn't like him? Something along those lines. And I was like, oh, that's me.
Right.
That is me. Like, I am, if I had to go on like a silent retreat or something, I would lose it. My head is too loud. There's too many things going on up here. Being by myself would scare me.
Well, initially it might, and seeing that's taking practice. It's
Mhm.
about when you think about better, right? Like if next week we talk again and we talk about what has been better since we even had this conversation, you might have a different perspective on this conversation such that you can have some level of silence or some kind of quiet, because your mind is going to make sure that thought process takes place. You're going to work through this just like you did in that split second of recognizing, man, I'm an extrovert around all these introverts. It came, boom, just like that.
Do you find that for yourself? Like, can you go to the movies by yourself? Can you go to a restaurant by yourself?
Oh, yeah, I do it all the
Oh,
time.
damn.
The
Well, it
first
must be
time I
nice.
went, the first time I went to the movies by myself, I went to see the Gremlins. I don't
Oh,
even know
my
if
word.
I think I was 12 years old. I
You
went
were
to,
12 and you went to the movies by yourself.
I
There's
did.
no way. Okay. I feel like if I was forced to do it, I could probably do it. Would I enjoy it? No. I like feedback.
Okay, I
I
do
like
too.
interaction.
Yeah.
I'm living and breathing by communicating. So it would just be so awkward to me. Wow.
Well, it's a new segue for you. It's a paradigm shift, right? And so now that it's there, trust me when I tell you, your subconscious is going to make this thing happen. It's going to say, "Hey, Sylvia, you can be alone." And there might be a resistance for a second, but it might be a little bit of time. Like when you go gardening in the backyard, are you by yourself?
Oh yeah. Well, no, because the plants are people. So
Well, but
and the
you
squirrels and the birds and everything else.
exactly. That's true, but you're in an audience of one human, right? And
Yeah.
so that's an alone time that you might not consider. And as you start to consider all the times when you are in the company of yourself, you might be surprised.
You
And
always been like this? Like you always were like, it's fine. I could just be my best self.
yeah, but I like being in the company of people too, right? Thus
Okay.
therapy, because I love this time to banter with people. I'm an intellectual, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
philosopher. So I like to talk about intellectual things, but I also like to hear how people are getting along in their life. I like to see how things are getting better for them, right? So that's my time to interact with people. And then when I'm at home, I'm interacting with my fiance, I'm interacting with my son. And then I like to be alone. And then, I like to play cards. So I have card parties and I like to go to events. I love jazz. So I'm going to a jazz concert and I'm around thousands of people.
Which is
And then I
terrifying
reach,
now.
but then I retreat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the balance of things. And I think if you think about who you are, I think there are times when you want to be bothered and sometimes you don't want to be.
Oh no, I want to be bothered at all times. Bother me. Please bother me.
That is
What? No, bother me at all
okay.
times in all ways. Please show up. Please say something.
Right. And that's fine. Even if that's the case, it's okay. There's no rhyme or reason to this thing and no good or bad to this thing. There is no judgment about it. If you like to be interacting with people and have that be a thing for you, it could be just you asking, what is that about?
Yeah, but it's difficult when I'm like processing all this stuff now. Like I'm literally married to an introvert who I mean, you could literally drop him in an empty room if you left him with a pencil and paper, enough paper.
Mm-hmm.
He will be fine
Right.
for for a long time. I mean like a long time. I'll have to tell you about when he lived in Ohio and I lived here. It was I thought he was like the Rain Man or like Goodwill Hunting or something. I was like, "Are you okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. This is great. I just have time to like think." And I was like, "What?" But
Yeah.
I think about it now. I'm like, man, I wonder. I often ask him, and he's like, "No, it's fine." I often ask him sometimes, like, "Do I just talk too much, or what is it?" And he's like, "No, it's fine."
It's not you. And he's perfectly fine with you. And if he wasn't, he finds somewhere else to go.
He would.
Right. Again, it's the balance, and everybody's different. And
Mm-hmm.
so for you, it's that balance of maybe having enough interactions with enough um, introverted, extroverted people who it won't phase them. And then when they've had enough, then you go somewhere else. You get your fill.
Yeah,
And it's not about worrying about if you're too much for them. Let them deal with them.
that's what it is. That is exactly it. It's me feeling like I'm too much, or that I'm taking all the oxygen out of the room, or that again, I'm just doing the most. I
Mm-hmm.
always feel like I have to dial everything back.
And you
It's
don't.
it's like I always felt like that was like my toxic trait
Mm.
is above and beyond, doing the most, doing too much, doing saying, always having something to say, always having like an opinion, always having my 2 cents.
Right.
It was
No,
yeah.
and I'm gonna tell you, we need it. We need all of you, and we need you to continue to be you, just you. Be all of yourself. And so again, kind of wrapping this thing up in a bow, I'm gonna beg to differ. You did not do the most, because if you did, it would have been said. And in her joking, there is truth. There is truth in every joke.
Yeah.
So there was something that was said, but it was still not too much because she allowed it and it made a difference. You showed up, which is so beautiful. I'm going to say, keep being you, Sylvia. Keep being all of yourself without wondering what somebody else is thinking, because you're not going to know. We can't speculate what somebody else is feeling. We allow them to share. We can
Right.
ask questions, but once we start to put our 2 cents in, especially when we have a bent toward negativity,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to set ourselves up for a letdown.
Yeah. It's it's so hard.
Well, that's what you say, but you can also say something else, right? It could be
What else could I
difficult.
say?
It could be difficult. It could be a challenge, right? Because when we think about something being hard, it's like we're not going to work at it. We give up. But if it's a challenge, you can meet that challenge.
Right.
We like challenges.
Yes, this is
So,
true.
right. So then the challenge is, how can you say to yourself that you are enough without feeling like you do the most? And that's the challenge for everybody. It's challenging yourself to think differently about who you are. We are all important. And if people don't want to be around us, trust me, people ain't going to be around you. They're just not. they're gonna find a lie, or they're gonna find some reason to get away. So we let people be people, and we stay ourselves. We got enough. You got enough to do within your body and your thought processes and things without challenging yourself to think for you and somebody else. That's just extra.
That's it, y'all. I'm not even going to add anything to that. I'm going to let Lori have that whole, that's it. That's it.
That's it for this week's show. I'm Lori Scott.
I'm Sylvia Johnson, and you've been listening to What's Been Better.
A big thank you to Lagan Music Inc. for providing our music. This show is edited and produced by us with a little help from our family and friends. We love you all.
Want to talk to us about the show? Send us an email at questions@whatsbeenbetter.com or hit us up on Instagram at whatsbeenbetterpodcast.
Thanks for listening.